I'm going to try
Hi,
to. Good to see you. I'm trying to make it so you can see me. Just one second here.
I don't see. Yes, I see you. So you are in a wonderful place, Mr. Dan Brown. So thank you very much for the first thing I have to say. Thank you very much. You gave me the really pleasure of being one of the first who read your new novel. And the second, you gave me the chance to interview you for the
Yes.
third time. For the third time.
Yes, I know. It's
Yeah.
great.
The first one was in Istanbul, the second one is in Frankfurt. I've learned after that was the old building of Max Planck Institute
Okay.
where we
Well,
met each other, but I learned it in the novel. So uh, I have to say that this is one of your best novels, really.
thank you.
I really can say very easily that this is, for me, this is the best after Da Vinci. And thank you and congratulations for. So I have 15 questions if you have enough time, of course.
I have 15 answers.
Yes, okay. So, first of all, there is a new approach in this novel because your novel begins with a murder. That one began with a death, not with the murder, but the explanation of the death. So, what is that really? Because you explained it in an extraordinary way in the first pages of the novel. Do you really believe that that is a simple chemical process? As you say, when you die, you die.
Well, I did believe it 8 years ago when I started writing this book. I don't
Yeah.
believe it anymore. I've become right like Robert Langdon, who starts skeptically and ends up a believer. That was my journey over the many years that it took to write this book. And what I was doing in that prologue by using a neuroscientist who is skeptical and rational.
Yes.
Um, and she said, Listen, life after death is this ridiculous idea. It doesn't happen. Of course, it doesn't happen. It's all chemical. That was my way of telling the reader, don't worry, this is not a new age, feel good, spiritual sort of book. This is a book where science takes the lead. And I'm not going to try to tell you I've had some mystical religious experience and that there's life after death. I'm going to start by saying no, it's it's impossible.
Okay. So now in Frankfurt, you told me that I really don't know when I die one day, I will need a priest to call a priest or not. I'm not sure. So for the moment, are you sure or not?
No, I'm pretty sure I won't. I'm not sure any would come talk to me anyway, but no, I think that religion does not have uh, the market cornered on the death experience. I mean, for whatever religion we happen to be, or agnostic, whatever you are, um, I think it's your life experience. When you die, I think you're thinking of your friends and your family and the people who you've known, not of some big mystical something in the sky.
So let's talk about the novel now. You say that this is the secret of the secret. So this is the end of the all secrets, or this is the beginning? Because I didn't really get very well. Because
Well,
if there is if there is no anymore a secret, so why read another Dan Brown novel?
Well, that's it's a fair question. You find out on the very last page what the secret of secrets is
Yes,
referring to.
yes,
But
yes.
I think in many ways, the secret that we all long to know across every culture, language, demographic is the secret of death. What happens? Is there something beyond that, or is that the end? And the reason it's the secret of secrets is because we'll all learn the answer, but we can't come back to tell you. And so it's this really fascinating catch 22 where when you finally know, that's the moment you can't tell anybody.
But in this novel, you begin to go towards the secrets of the science, perhaps.
Yes. Well, I think that science, very much so, as is described in the novel, is starting to answer a lot of these big questions and starting to give us a sense that our sense of how the mind works, how consciousness works, how death works, is not what we thought it was. That there's a secret there that we don't understand.
In that novel, I personally found another Langdon.
Oh, if you've read my books, Langdon
Yes.
in every book meets a different beautiful woman. He's very
Yeah.
lucky,
Yes.
and she's always beautiful and very smart and knows what he needs to know. And I wanted to show a different side of Langdon. I wanted to start a book with Langdon in love.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be a meaningful relationship. And so rather than saying this is somebody he's been in love with for a year, which is less interesting than this is the very beginning of a relationship, but he's known this person his whole life. And that is suddenly interesting. When friends become lovers, that's this what we have all this familiarity, but now there's this added level of romance. It's just a fascinating moment.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah. This is a very interesting, and I love that Langdon, you know. So, Silas and Golem. It seems that they are very similar or not.
No, I don't think they're similar because the Silas receives his
Right.
orders.
Yes.
Either way, Silas receives his orders um, and follows blindly, and the golem is built as a protector. He has a very specific mission, and he does not take orders from anybody. When he's turned on, when in the legend, when this creature comes to life, he actually goes out of control because he's so intent on doing what he wants to do, which is to protect. The reason I chose the golem, two reasons really, or three reasons. One was to talk about the history of Prague and the history of the Jewish people in Prague. One was uh, because there's a character in the novel who sees themselves as a protector. And so the golem is a perfect foil or a parallel for that character. And also, we're talking about non-local consciousness, you being able to turn your brain on and off like a radio. And that's the way the golem works. He's lifeless until you write this code on his
Yeah.
forehead,
Yeah.
and it's almost like you've turned a switch and he suddenly has a consciousness and he's alive and he does his thing. So it worked on many, many levels.
When you wrote The Digital Fortress, it was in 1998. So you talk about in that novel, it was very, very brilliant about the digital safety.
Yes.
And it was the beginning of the internet area, digital area. You really talked about a real problem. Excuse me. Now we have really that problem, you know. So, how do you consider yourself as a science fiction writer or a literary writer or a futurologist?
More of the latter. I don't consider myself a science fiction writer at all because I try to write what's true. I just try to write, I try to look ahead and say, what's coming? What is the truth just below the surface that we're going to see very, very soon?
Yeah.
Uh, and in some cases, we're already seeing it. And Digital Fortress, yeah, I mean, certainly the notion of digital encryption and privacy on the internet and privacy
Yes.
of data, national security and civilian privacy, these are all issues that were not that big at that time, but I knew they were coming. And now, of course, it's all we talk about. And artificial intelligence has really made it challenging to, um, internet security is going to become more and more difficult because these machines are so powerful that they can break bigger and bigger keys.
Yes, but in that time, it was very early to talk about the really security problems of the digital era. So you solved that. from the
Yeah.
end of the 20th century. This is not only thing that you saw. For example, in Inferno, you talk about a virus. It was before the COVID, and after we had COVID and a real virus. Of course, this is not the same in your novel and in the real COVID case, but you always see something before. For example, very recently, I watched three documentaries about Da Vinci Code. And most of them, the theologians and religious guys were talking about your thesis in the Da Vinci novel, and I observed that some of them, they already ready to accept what you told
Yeah.
in the books. So I really wonder, because for me, you are a man of literature, because your writing styles is extraordinary. Really, I'm a writer. I have to say that you influenced me too much.
Well, that's
So especially, I never forget that when you told me that my real obsession is to make pass the readers from one chapter to the other. So really, you know the art of writing. So for me, so that's why I really wonder what was the writers that influenced you or you like. Which
well,
which which are the
yeah,
writers?
many writers. I read all the time as a child. We had no television. My parents did not want television,
You
so I
never
started
watched television?
no television. We played music and we read. That's what we did, and we did puzzles and codes and things. But I started out reading all the same children's books as everybody else, the Dr. Seuss and Richard Scarry and Maurice Sendak. Then I moved into, I remember one of the first books that I read that was a novel was A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline L'Engle, which I just loved. I remember being transported into these characters, and it was a children's book, but it was a novel.
Yes, yes.
And then I read all of the Hardy Boys mystery series, and then I went on to Robert Ludlum. And so Robert Ludlum really gave me a flavor of international high stakes thrillers. The Day of the Jackal, The Eye of the Needle were two couple other books that I read uh, by Ken Follett. Um, and then it's funny. Then I ended up in prep school and university where I read the classics. And I remember reading of Mice and Men and thinking, this is the most beautiful description I've ever heard of a place. And in his novels, um, the first chapter of every single the first paragraph of every single chapter is a description of the place. And I realized, like, okay, so place is a character. Place is
Yes.
always a character, and you have to set it up as a character, and it interacts with your human characters in a very real way. I read a lot of Shakespeare, love his wordplay, very clever wordplay. Um, but mostly I read nonfiction. Um, Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth was very, very influential. Dictionary of Symbols by Chevalier. Really, it's a melting pot of a lot of different things.
I read generally the nonfiction books underlying the lines. But in your never a novel. But in your novel, especially in the last one, you have to see my manuscript now. Every page I took note, I underlined, not because I would interview you, but I really want to keep them as a knowledge. So
Right.
in that novel, the real knowledge and the fiction is came together so dense that makes the novelty of the secrets of secrets. And one more time, congratulations.
Thank you very
So
much.
there's a discussion about the religious relics in the Topkapi Palace. Some says that these are not authentic. And when I read the pages about the Satanic Bible in your book, it was very interesting, really. I didn't know that book. I've learned from really from Secrets of Secrets. I want to ask you, what do you think about for the religious relics? Do we need to prove the authenticity with the carbon tests and everything, like the shots of Turan? They had a carbon test that it was not authentic. But some says in Turkey that we don't need. If the people believes, let them believe.
Yeah, that's a very, very difficult question. I tend to think that if people believe, you let them believe because a physical object only has value if we give it value. The Shroud of Turin, for example, or something in Topkapi Palace, um, as as a piece of physical matter doesn't have a lot of value, except that we've given it value. And so if you're going to give an object value and if it inspires people, um, and you can't be sure, I think you just have to be honest. Say, we're not sure. This is what we think it is. We're almost positive that's what this is, and we're excited to have it. We have no proof, uh,
Yes.
but yeah, I think you let people believe it's important.
Thank you. So, for your book, you need a research team, I'm sure. How many people works for a Dan Brown novel?
One,
Really?
it's just me. Um, I've never had a research team. And the reason is that if you have a research team, you never have fortunate mistakes. And a fortunate mistake means, for example, I went to Sagrada Familia Cathedral to research the tomb of Gaudi, and I could have sent somebody there to get me the information, get me pictures and all that, but I would never have stumbled into a staircase that I didn't know was there and realized this is a very dramatic place for the villain to die. Um, and so usually, and I would say about half the time, I'll go looking for one piece of information and find two or three other pieces of information that only I know I'm going to use. My assistants would not know I'm going to use it. They'd ignore it. They'd say, "Well, he asked for the tomb of Gaudi." Um, so, and I believe that because I'm writing often about the locations. You have to be there in person and hear what it sounds like and smell what it smells like and really get a sense for what it is to be in that space. And so I do it myself. Now, I have an editor at Random House, Jason Kaufman,
Yeah.
who actually plays a role in the novel as Jonas Falkman, but he's my first reader, my first and only reader. And he really understands what it is I'm trying to do in these books. And we work very closely together. And then when we're finished, there's a whole army of fact checkers, proofreaders, copy editors, lawyers, like everybody you could imagine goes into the manuscript and tries to tear it apart to find anything that's not accurate or not true or that's a mistake somehow. And by the time we're done, I really am very, very confident that what I'm presenting is very, very accurate.
You explained very well your editor in the book also.
He's
But I
funny.
want so you have a really great energy, I see you because and you don't change. The last time it was before COVID, no, yes,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
before COVID, and you look really great.
Oh,
So
that's nice of you to say. I'm sure it's just trick photography. I have some fancy camera that's supposed to make me look good. I mean, if I should say, I'm pretty tired. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, no, 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 you look really great. So, for example, for a book like that, how many interviews do you give
Oh boy.
generally?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll give you an idea of the scale. This
Yes,
book is coming out in 56 languages.
yes,
I have signed 42,000 title pages. Took 3 months.
3 months.
42,000 signatures. I have given, if you think about it, I'm giving two interviews to Turkey, and there's 50 other countries.
Yes,
So you can do the math. And then in the US, I've given, I don't know,
Yeah.
15, 20 interviews just in the US, probably another 10 in the UK. Uh,
Yes.
so it's a it's a different kind of the job. And it's funny when you're a writer, especially when you spend this long on a book, because I just spent 8 years alone in the dark, you know, working on this book all alone. And all of a sudden it's done. And the publisher says, get dressed. They put a light in your face and they say, go be interesting. Go be friendly, go be nice. And you're like, I'm not even sure I remember how to interact with other people. So um the all of these interviews, I think they're getting better. I'm starting to sort of come out of hibernation.
So you told me that in the beginning of the interview that the places are the characters for you.
Yes.
The cities also are the characters because you explain such a way that every time I have really, I want to go there. For example, Prague. I went several times to Prague, but I discovered another Prague now, so I have
Right.
to go. And so, what is the next city?
Well, do you have children?
Yeah,
Okay. I would like you to
Disneyland.
imagine your wife has just given birth, you're in the hospital, you're
Yes,
sitting beside her bed, she's holding her newborn.
yes,
You say, "What are we going to name the next child after this one?"
yes.
That's not a good question. It's too soon.
It's too soon. Yeah.
It's too soon. I don't know. I have ideas, but I really have been so busy making sure. I'm very, very proud of this book. I feel that it deserves a good launch. I hope a lot of people enjoy it, and so I'm really focusing on doing everything I can do to help this book. And there will come a point when I've done everything I can do, and now I look at the next book. Um, but that's not today.
It's a really, really very nice book,
Thank
and
you.
I really sincerely believe that this is one of the best, perhaps the best after for me, after Da
Thank you.
Vinci.
That means a lot coming from a writer like you. Thank you.
Mr. Brown, my questions nearly all these, and that's enough for me. And I see that you have some many others interview, and I already knew you very well because this is the third time. I thank you one more time. Really, you were always very sympathetic for me, and in my career to have the interview with you. That was a big chance. And I wish you a big success. I wait some other books from you because I'm one of your fans in the world. And remember, in Turkey, you have a big, and really, I think I'm the biggest fan in Turkey.
Well,
And
thank you.
I'm 78 years old, so it means that probably 10 more years I can wait for the books.
That is funny. Well,
Okay.
thank you. It's wonderful to see you again. And when I come to Turkey next, I will have my friends at Alton Kataplar find you.
Yes.
I look forward to it.
Okay.
So
Thank you
until,
very much. Have
thank
a
you.
good day. Thank you.